WTBR Pittsfield, WTBR FM Pittsfield.
Welcome to Ham on WTBR, the all-inclusive ham radio show for hams and non-hams alike. Be part of the show. Contact us on www.facebook.com/HamJamTV. And now the hosts of the show, Peter and Jessica.
Morning, everybody. How are you?
And good morning from Berkshire County in Pittsfield, Massachusetts. It's Ham on WTBR FM.
Morning, everybody. How are you?
We got a big show today. We have a special guest here, Bruce Pierce, N1YCW, who will be here discussing a bunch of things, public service and the fall foliage
Had
parade.
to turn up your mic, huh?
Yeah, turn up the mic. We'll be getting to him in just a little bit here. We're going to start with some news. Jesse, go ahead.
Yes, the AARL and Amateur Radio Union President earned.
You can do it.
I can't pronounce the word.
Do the best you can.
Anyways, the president of AARL and the International Radio Union, President Larry E. Price, had passed away. His call sign was W4RA. He was from Statesboro, Georgia. He had passed away on the 10th of September. I know it's late that we're getting to it. But so sorry about that. He was a native of Little Rock. He was first licensed at the age of 16. And he held other call signs before he was given his call sign that he passed away. And he had MBAs, he had a doctorate. He was a second lieutenant in the U.S. Army, Signal Corps. And he was honorably discharged with rank captain. Unfortunately, he had passed away today. Today. He had passed away on the 10th. He left behind his 3 children and several grandchildren. His wife had passed away before he did. God bless him, and sorry for the loss. Back to you with more news.
All right, thanks, Jess. Yeah, let's talk about this for a minute. The non-event that we reported on last week,
yes.
The Storm Area 51. Let's bring you up to date on that.
Oh, that was a big flop.
Yeah, 150 people. Although Facebook took down the viral event, invite to Storm Area 51, only 100 people showed up Friday and 2 were detained outside the secret government's facilities gates to see the extraterrestrial evidence long rumored to be housed there. It started off as, for those who don't know, those who weren't listening last week, it started off as a joke. Marty Roberts created a Facebook event July 27th called Storm Area 51. They can't stop all of us, and scheduled it for September 20th. After the 3 days, the event took off. The event page took off with over 2 million Facebook RSVPs and another 1.2 million marked as interested in attending before site administrators took it down. Since then, other associated events like music festivals sprung up in its place of raiding the base and will run throughout the weekend. The festivals ultimately attracted 1,500 people to neighboring towns, according to the Associated Press. Of that number, 150 people traveled within sight of the Area 51 gates, and 75 actually approached the gates Friday morning. 2 individuals were detained.
Out of how many?
Of 150.
Really?
Yeah. 2 individuals were detained by the local sheriff deputies, and it's unclear who was detained and why, although one woman allegedly attempted to duck under the gates and the man was allegedly publicly urinating in the vicinity.
Oh my God.
Some of the attendees showed up at the gates as early as 3 a.m. People.
3 a.m.
Pe-
Oh my God.
People desire to be part of something, to be ahead of the curve. Area 51 is a place where normal, ordinary citizens can't go. When you tell people they can't do something, they just want to do it more. Said the
Oh, yeah.
University of Nevada.
It's like that 5-year-old where you tell them you can't have cookies before dinner, but they sneak into the cookie jar anyways.
And this was where was I? The Nevada sociologist Ken Borner, in an interview with the local ABC affiliate, said that the U.S. military warnings were issued that lethal force would be used if necessary to keep people from entering Area 51.
So you're gonna go there with the risk of being shot by the military. So for what?
Because it was the thing to do.
There's a lot of things that people were doing and it's stupidity. Like eating Tide Pods.
We do.
Come on now. Storming Area 51 is up there with Tide Pods?
We do this every week, and they did that. The conspiracy surrounding Area 51 and its purported uses, although rumors circulated about the base for decades, the CIA only acknowledged its existence in 2013 when a report from 1992 was declassified. It stated that the base was used to test spy planes, but it's still mostly unclear what the government uses the facility for. And we'll go back to Jess for any news.
Yes, Ham Radio and the New York City Marathon actually have a relationship dating back to the 1970s. When former AARL Hudson Division Director and latter Vincent, first Vice President, Vincent, yeah. Wow, can't read. Stephen Melson, W2ML. Then it was WA2DHF. He is silent key also. Been organizing a lot of ham volunteers to support the race communications. Basically, they were used for relay. And also to tell people, how the runners were doing, if they needed medical assistance, blase, blase. And the thing is that he was doing this when cell phones, were just starting. And, you couldn't rely on them at the time for communication, so they were using ham radio. And ham radio volunteers to go ahead and help them with the mile markers and how the runners were there and how they were doing. I think it's pretty cool. Hams have helped out in a lot of public service events, and it's really cool that, there are a lot of hams that do public service and help out in public service. Oh my dear Lord, I sound horrible.
And that is what we are talking about today, is public service. And yes, New York City Marathon is just one of those things that we do public service. There's a lot of this coming up, and we kind of jumped here early, but let's go there since we're here. There's the coming up in October in New York is the Pumpkin Patrol.
Oh,
the New York
yes.
State Police, and I think Eastern Massachusetts does that. We also have we have the Pumpkin Patrol. We have the Josh Billings race, which we just had. We had the Freihofer's Run for Women in Albany. That's a nice public service event. The CDPHP Workforce Challenge in Albany. And, of course, the Boston Marathon. But coming up in October, and you're listening to Ham On here on WTBR FM.
Yes,
and we're talking about public service. We're going to be talking, when we come back from the break, we're going to be talking to Bruce Pierce, N1YCW, who is coordinates the hams for the Fall Foliage Parade.
Yes,
and also Cycle 2 net manager on the K1FFK. So we're going to go to a break here, and we will be back.
You're listening to AM on WTBR.
You think you know what radio is, but there is a radio you may not have yet discovered. Amateur radio, or as it is often called, ham radio. You can talk to the world.
Hey, Yoshi, you're my first contact with Japan.
Help when disasters strike.
The Hurricane Emergency Net is now open for priority traffic.
Or make friends worlds away.
G'day, mate. Beautiful day here out in Australia. I tell you what, the waves are
Say hello to the world via amateur radio. The ARRL, the National Organization for Amateur Radio, can teach you how. Visit helloradio.org and say hello to ham radio.
Hi, this is Frank Beard of ZZ Top for RAD. If you're out partying and drinking, and we all know that happens sometimes, please don't get behind the wheel. Give up the keys to a designated driver. Please don't drink and drive.
I'm probably okay.
A public service message brought to you by the U.S. Department of Transportation, RAD, the National Association of Broadcasters, and the Ad Council.
The Berkshire's only rock station, 89.7 WTBR FM, Pittsfield, Massachusetts.
Have one more drink before I drive home. I'm probably okay. I open the window to stay alert. Probably okay. I just popped some gum in my mouth.
Step out of the car, please.
I probably made a mistake.
Probably okay isn't okay when it comes to drinking and driving. If you see a warning sign, stop and call a cab, a car, or a friend. Buzzed driving is drunk driving. A message brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
WTBR. Impressive. Most impressive.
And we are back to WTBR FM. You're listening to Ham On.
Welcome back, guys.
Our topic today is public service and the Fall Foliage Parade. But real quick, we're going to give the space weather report here. The solar activity was very low under a spotless solar disk again, and the activity is expected to be very low levels on the 23rd to the 25th of September. The solar wind, the solar wind parameters were at nominal levels. Solar wind speed gradually declined through the period from about 350 kilometers per second to nearly 300 kilometers per second. No sunspots, and the bands are 80 and 40 are poor for the day, good for the night.
What is it? As they get bigger, there's more chance, there's more greater chance?
As what gets bigger? The sunspots?
Yeah, the sunspots.
The more sunspots you get, the better the propagation we have, and the further we can talk.
Sorry, non-ham here, wanting to know.
Non-ham wanting to know. And 17 and 15.
And since I like science and all the wonderful outer space stuff, I wanted to know.
17 and 15 are poor, and 12 and 10 are poor. Oh, wow. So we have in studio Bruce Pierce, N1YCW.
Good afternoon.
And we're going to stretch his mind here a little bit and talk about public service, and the Fall Foliage Parade. Thanks for being here this morning on WTBR FM.
Yes, thank you.
You're listening to Ham On. Bruce, why don't you start off and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, I got interested in ham radio by listening on a radio that had shortwave along with AM FM, just a portable radio, and I heard the K1FFK, the repeater up on Mount Greylock, and what was conspiring there. I had no idea what ham radio was all about, and I said, boy, that sounds something like I'd like to get into. And so after a while, like I said, back in '96, I aspired to get my ham radio license, and we had to do code back then and learn Morse code, and I made it up to a general class, and I really enjoyed doing that. And then the opportunities with the Northern Berkshire Amateur Radio Club, getting involved with public service. And there was traffic nets, cycle 1 in the morning and at 10, and then in the afternoon at 1. And I listened to the various people that were involved with that, and net control, stuff like that. And there was this lady up in Keene, New Hampshire, that was the net control for cycle 1, and unfortunately she passed away. And so there wasn't anybody, I don't think, that was available to take care of cycle 2 in the afternoon. And that's what time I take my lunch at when I was working. And after she passed, I volunteered to be a cycle 1 net manager. And it was a great experience, and nice to hear people checking in on the net. It passed some major traffic, which would be messages for those who don't know what that is. And it was fun. It still is. I really enjoy it. And some of the public service I was involved with. I was involved. I would say about anywhere from 12 to 15 years of volunteering to go to the Boston Marathon. Those marathons are 26.2 miles, and we worked with the medical support for the race, and
you give updates on racers and how they're doing, if any of them needed med care or anything like that?
We're just keeping track of the elite runners. That was one thing. You went in the vans and kind of monitored them and made sure they had, the supplies they need while they're on the road race. And there's I think it's every mile, they have a Red Cross station. We work with a lot of Red Cross, all the medical staff from the surrounding Boston area, anywhere from EMTs to doctors, nurses, lots of nurses, to help support the runners as they went along the route. There's a lot of times that some people have to drop out of the race, and we had buses, and there had ham radio operators stationed on the buses, or 1 or 2 of them on each bus, and we had to be there very, very early in the morning. And unfortunately, my aunt and uncle live in Concord, so I traveled down there the night before, so it made it a lot easier to commute into the city of Boston at that early hour, probably around 6 o'clock or so. So I just left from Concord and from my aunt and uncle's house, where they graciously let me stay over. And so it worked out quite well. It was another enjoyable experience. If you ever experienced a marathon live, it is very awesome. I mean, it's a river of people running down that street, and they just keep coming and coming and coming.
Oh, like a human assembly line.
Yeah, it was just like a human river. That's what it looks like. So it's going down Boylston Street and stuff like that, and the main streets, and that day, it's an incredible experience. You meet a lot of people. You help them all the time. You have a maid medical tent at the end of the race, and with cots and stuff. Huge, activity tents, and work with the police department. Any kind of communication that they needed, they have it. We have a net control, so that kind of coordinated everything that was going on, and it was a great experience. And also other experiences like Peter mentioned, the Josh Billings road race, the triathlon there, and we did that type of the same type of public service. And coming up on October 6th, we have the Fall Foliage Parade. So if there's any operators out there who would like to volunteer to assist us in the parade route.
And also non-ham operators. Hey, I'm
oh,
a
absolutely.
non-ham.
Oh, no, you don't have to be just a ham radio operator. I mean,
exactly.
Anything that helps with the communications and helps with the parade route, and they know what unit is coming down the road. And I'm stationed at the reviewing stand and work with the announcer, so he knows what unit's coming down the street and what unit couldn't make it that day. But it's fun, and I love a parade, and so that helps too.
So that brings me to my next question: is how you got involved with the Fall Foliage Parade, and how you got the ham operators to get involved in the Fall Foliage Parade.
Well, you do. Like I said, on the Cycle 1 and the Cycle 2 nets, we do advertise that we are looking for an operator or two, or how many we need at the time. That's basically how we ask for that. And, of course, with K1FFK, they have their monthly newsletter, and we, anywhere we can get communication to the ham radio operators, but mostly directly right on the Cycle 1 or the Cycle 2 net. We advertise that the Fall Foliage Parade's coming up, and we need maybe 4 or 5 operators and volunteers. So.
And we're putting it out on here as well.
Absolutely.
If you'd like to volunteer at your ham radio or not, if you'd like to volunteer for the Fall Foliage Parade, which is October 6th, up in North Adams, you can go to iberkshires.com/events/fall-foliage-parade, and on there is a link to sign up to volunteer for that. And I guess if you're a ham radio operator and you want to volunteer, are we going through me again this year?
Sure.
Okay, we'll go through me again this year.
Yeah,
Bruce is kind of busy with personal stuff on the side, so I kind of help him out there. But if you want to volunteer on the ham radio side, we do need a few operators along the parade route, so you can always get a hold of me at my email. At kd2jkv@gmail.com, or on the Ham On page, www.facebook.com/HamJamTV. I guess the big thing is, for those who are listening and have no idea, because I had no idea till you explained it to me last year. Let's give them a little hint of what the Fall Foliage Parade is, how it started, why is it up in North Adams, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, the Chamber of Commerce of North Adams started this as a La Festa Italian festival. And it was just part of the festival. It was a children's parade, which they have a day or two before the main Fall Foliage Parade. And they have a lot of marching units, a lot of floats. This is just like a fall celebration in the city of North Adams. And it's been going on for a long, long time. Silvio Conti has marched in this, or one of our former congressmen, and various congressmen and local leaders, and sometimes we get some pretty good celebrities that march in the parade. It's a lot of fun, a lot of color, a lot of wonderful music. Marching bands is always a good time for all the young folk and old folk together. They put a pretty good time there, and and it's a lot of revelry for our fall foliage.
Has ham radio always been part of this parade, or is it something that's just come about in the past few years?
The Chamber of Commerce has seen a need for better communication because you want to know what's coming down the street, and especially at the reviewing stand, so the announcer will know, exactly what unit is next, and so he can announce it on Main Street. Also, just so the people that are in the parade know exactly what's going on at the staging area down in the Ocean State Job Lots parking lot there on the Kern Highway, and they march right down toward Main Street. So we know what's going on. We know what unit made it, who didn't make it. They have 4 or 5 different awards for the floats, and so there's judging for that, and that way everybody has communications and knows who won the Hayden Award or the Orr Award or the Mayor's Award, the various awards of all the effort that they put in the floats.
And yeah, you can for the hams who want to be part of this, you can always get a hold of me. You can always find me probably on the air mostly, but we use the no bark Mount Greylock 146-910 repeater for that. So we give shout out to the guys at No Bark. If you want to find out about them, go to nobarc.org. It sounds like I'm doing this on the air on 991 for that information, for that stuff like that. How usually how many? 162.8. Go ahead. 162.2 tone.
Yeah, the tone.
How many usually ham operators? I know last year we had like 4 or 5, but what is a good number? I mean, if we get a bunch of people saying, I'm going to turn on my radios, I haven't done it in a while. What's a good number to have out there as far as your average number of hams operating at the parade?
At the parade, yeah, that's about the right amount. We have one at the 1 or 2, or actually 2 at the staging area. And then as you go down the parade route, they have a TV station broadcasting it. And yeah,
I think I'm not sure. I think PCTV actually broadcasts that.
Yeah, correct. So we have a ham radio operator right there at the cameras, and then we have usually one as they turn from the current highway on Route 8 and turn right onto Main Street. So that operator stationed right there at City Hall, so they can see what's coming down the actually coming down the street. They can actually see what's coming down the street and let the reviewing stand operator know what's going on, and they can communicate with the announcer.
Yeah, last year we worked with I think 4. We had myself, we had you, KC1MNI, Allison, KD2KOW was there.
Yep.
KC1.
No, he was at home.
Matt was there.
Oh, Matt was home. Yeah.
Matt was there. I think this year, I know I'll be there. She'll be there.
Yeah, of course.
She'll be on the club call.
Yeah.
She'll be on the KD2 NSA call this year.
Yes, I will.
And Darlene will be there, and we'll try to get a couple more. But if you want to join in on the Fall Foliage Parade, it is October 6th up in North Adams. It's a really fun.
It's a fun
Yeah,
experience.
because Mom's going to be my control ops.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. Really fun experience, and I think everybody should volunteer for stuff like this. I know the Josh Billings couple weekends ago had a few operators, but here's the big question outside of the Josh Billings that we do here in the Fall Foliage Parade. How do we get more public service events in and around at least Western Massachusetts. I know there's a ton of them that go on in East Mass with the Pumpkin Parade, Pumpkin Patrol, which we'll get into a little bit. We'll explain that to you today. And the like Bruce brought up, the Boston Marathon, and which
got many jackets.
yeah, which what I think over 300. What is it? 300 operators run the Boston Marathon.
Yeah, not more.
But how do we? First off, to get more operators interested, we got to do more public service. And last week we had Marcia in here, K1WU, who's the section traffic manager for Massachusetts. For us ham operators, we know all about this stuff. We know how to do this stuff. For the newcomers and ham operators, like next week we'll have Susie here, KC1LIW. IWR or something like that. She's a fairly new ham. We'll have her in studio and try to get her opinion on getting new hams in here. But for the hams that are sitting on the fence, because hopefully that's what this show does, is not only get the older hams back in operation that are listening to TBR right now, but getting the new hams that are sitting on the fence going,
or people that have never taken the test.
Or people that have never taken the test. What do we need to do to get more public service events in Western Massachusetts? Because I know we could somehow we could get a pumpkin patrol or something going on out here.
Yeah, I know that also another local event that we have done in the past is the Wilco Festival up in North Adams. They have used ham radio operators for communication with the police for the parking up there, and traffic control, stuff like that. So there's various events we could tap into. Sure.
You're listening to Ham on WTBR FM. Actually, the simulated emergency test is coming up October 5th and 6th, and you could actually, I think, check in from the parade and get points. But for those who don't know, it's a training exercise involving the Amateur Radio Emergency Service, which is ARES, and the National Traffic System, which we talked about last week. Yep. A message handling service of amateur radio. The American Radio Relay League is a prime mover in this event, which is organized somewhat like a contest. Its primary purposes are to evaluate strengths and weaknesses in emergency preparations and communications, and to demonstrate amateur radio to the public. During the first full weekend of October of every year in the United States, a nationwide radio communication network is set up that links every major city and most of the geographical area of the country. This technology infrastructure is set up from scratch within a few hours at locations that vary from state and local emergency operations centers to isolated areas without utilities of any kind. Every mode of radio communication is utilized, including analog, digital, voice, data, simplex, and duplex, satellites, and even automated relay stations launched on aircraft and with weather balloons for no more than 48-hour continuous operations. This nationwide radio communications network is exercised with the primary objective of proving that the system's readiness and capabilities. Then, as quickly as it was set up, the system is dismantled and stored in preparation for when it is needed, earthquakes and all that. And the public service is always a good training, as well as NTS. We have, like Bruce said, we have a control op. We actually have an NCS station set up at the parade. We have a few operators out there, and we actually have a net K1FFK repeater lets us have the air for the net.
Yep.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and it's good. It's good training. We do need, especially in Western Mass, we do need a lot more volunteers for ARES. Do need a lot more volunteers for the public service events. How did? Question I'm looking for. I can't find the question.
Search your brain.
Search your feelings, Luke. How long have you been with the Fall Foliage Parade, and how long have you been working as a ham operator?
Well, since '96, like I said, I got my first license. Matter of fact, the personal business, like I said, I'm in the middle of moving, and I came across my very first license.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my God, 1996. How about that? Yeah, I've been doing it that long. And it's just, they had...
Hey, she's been doing it as long as you and Mom have been married.
Yeah. Thanks for that. That's good. Hopefully we can edit that. Oh, no, it's a live show. We can't edit anything.
Dough. Foiled again.
Oh, no. I pulled out the dirty little secrets. Oh, no.
But it is a great experience. You meet a lot of good people. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. It's great to communicate, and the fact that with ham radios, the thing of it is how important it is to have a ham radio, because when all the communications are down, when you're out of power, when you're out of everything, and you're looking for communications, the only communications that are left are ham radio operators giving information and helping emergency situations, and that's how important. And the government is starting to really, really appreciate us. And I'm also involved with the Northern Berkshire Emergency Committee, which works with area officials from colleges, stuff like that. And the police department, fire department, stuff like that. So we meet every month, discuss communications, and also supplies and equipment for emergency situations, tents and grants that are available to us. And so that's communications with ham radio is very, very important.
And yeah, we hear a lot of things. I read a lot of things on this to say this is an antiquated system that, you've got Skype, you've got instant messaging, you've got the internet. Well, Monday night, after those storms blew through here Monday night, our power over on our end of Pittsfield went bye-bye for a couple of minutes. Sure. You never know when the power is going to cut out. You never know when something's going to happen, God forbid, like 9/11, when amateur radio operators rushed over to the towers, what was left of the towers, to set up the communications, because...
And also on top of that, I have something to say, too. We go up on Greylock to go visit. This does not work. This cell phone does not work.
Yeah, there's a lot of places.
He brings his ham radio. He brings his portable ham radio. That works just fine. He can get out just fine.
Yeah. Yeah. How far can you go?
Well,
up there, you can get up like 7 different states.
Even without the repeater.
Even without the repeater.
Which brings up my next thing. We're all good with going through the repeaters, whether it be K1FFK or the stuff in New York. But remember, they run on electricity. And even though there's batteries, backup batteries on the hill, on the repeaters, they don't go so far. Right. What Bruce was bringing up is a good point. We went up hilltopping, and I just had my HT with me on Simplex, which is 146.550 for everybody. And I actually made a contact with somebody in Cape Cod.
That's amazing.
Right off the top of the mountain without the repeater in play. But it's very important, ham radio is kind of progressing on. There's a lot of digital stuff. But what we do with the public service and with the NTS, and actually going out to be at the Fall Foliage Parade, or be at the Pumpkin Patrol, or be at those things, it's good training, because and I got fuzzies on my mic. You never know when all of a sudden the grid's going to go down, and the repeaters go down, and the radio stations go down, and the TV stations go down, just like September 11th.
The communication is September 11th. I mean, they shut every cell phone in that area, all around the country. They had no cell service at all.
Well, they really had none.
Security system.
They really had none in Manhattan because all the cell towers were actually on top of the World Trade Center.
And the marathon bombing, they had to shut all the cell phones down.
Oh yeah, the marathon.
Really?
Were you around Boston for the marathon bombing?
Was not able to attend. I had another commitment that certain Sunday, and I got more people saying, "Where are you? Are you all right? Are you down there?"
Because I'd really like to get,
especially if they know that's normally your routine.
I would have been, yeah.
I'd really like to get one or two of the ham operators actually worked that marathon in this studio,
yes, that'd be great.
and talk about what they'd done during the marathon bombing. Yeah. I have to figure out how I can get a list. But what we do, and this is all free of charge. Yeah, yes. We don't charge anybody anything for this. This is all volunteer. Yeah. There's this thing.
We don't get paid for this. Trust me.
Yeah, we don't get paid for this. But they just give us an open mic for an hour and say, "Have at it." What was I gonna? The Pumpkin Patrol in Eastern New York, they do the Pumpkin Patrol, which is they'll sit on with the New York State Police. They'll sit on the bridges. This is, by the way, Ham on WTBR FM, and we're talking about public service and the Fall Foliage Parade this week. But we're into the Pumpkin Patrol, which I don't know why Western Mass doesn't do a Pumpkin Patrol. I know East Mass does it. I know ENY does it because I was in it a few times, where you sit and you watch bridges for people throwing stuff off.
You watch it for prankers?
Well, no, prankers not so much, but people will throw stuff off the bridge. They'll hit the cars below, and then there's a 27-car pileup because of it. I know. Were you ever involved in any of those Pumpkin Patrol things? I know they do it here. Is there anything else about the Fall Foliage Parade that you want to put out while we have some time here, or about the?
Just about covered it.
Just about covered it. Yeah. Bruce is Cycle 2 net manager. I get so confused between the two. Right. Bruce is Cycle 2 net manager for the Western Mass Traffic Net. And you can hear him every Tuesday and Thursday. If you want to, and for the ham radio operators out there, if you want to do some of this NCS work, we've got spots open. There's always somewhere we can put you. I have plenty of spots open as of late. And for the non-hams, if you want to get your ham license, ARRL.org will give you everything you need to know, and I can even set up a VE session. I have a couple of venues I can use for a VE session. We're going to go to a break, and then we're going to come back with some more fun and some more talking here on WTBR FM.
You're listening to Ham On and WTBR.
WTBR. Impressive. Most impressive.
If you don't clean up your room, the Board of Health is going to condemn it.
The Board of Health doesn't even know about your room. What's more, they don't care.
You know, if you keep making that face, it's going to freeze that way.
Not unless you're someplace really, really cold. Actually, a lot of the warnings moms hand out are exaggerated.
If you don't get your blood pressure checked, you could have high blood pressure, not even know it, and you could die from a stroke.
But she's right about that one. Call the American Heart Association or visit our website to learn more.
This is the Goodwill Industries of the Berkshires and Southern Vermont. Our mission is to help our community members with barriers to employment attain independence and self-sufficiency, gain confidence, and enhance quality of life, all through vocational, educational work, training, and support services. You can contact Goodwill at 413-442-0061 or go to our website at www.goodwill-berkshires.com.
100,000 people in Massachusetts have hepatitis C. Most of them don't know it.
I've had this for years, but how on earth would I have known?
because they don't have any symptoms. Medical care can help prevent serious liver damage.
So he tells me I have a liver disease. And I told him, I said, I don't even drink.
You're at high risk if you receive blood or an organ transplant before 1992, have ever injected drugs even once, or have had sex with an infected partner.
I had a C-section before 1992.
Well, the blood supply is safe now. When I had my operation, it was a totally different story. It was one time, one needle.
If you are at risk, get tested. Protect your health.
Bottom line, I don't want to give it to anyone else.
Hepatitis C? Learn more. Be sure. For more information, ask your healthcare provider or call 1-888-443-HEP-C or visit masshepc.org. A message from the Massachusetts
Surely you
Department
can't
of
be
Public
serious.
Health.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Lefty loosey, righty tighty. Okay, here's the thing about yellow snow. Now I know my ABCs. Next time, won't you sing with me?
Learn how to drive, you moron!
Remember, you're always teaching. Teach carefully. React with rage, and kids will learn it's okay to do the same. Keep your cool, and kids will do likewise. For advice, visit actagainstviolence.org. Brought to you by MetLife Foundation, National Association for the Education of Young Children, and the Ad Council.
89.7 WTBR FM, Pittsfield.
All right, and we're back on Ham On WTBR FM. And even that, we were talking to Bruce Pierce here and NYCW about the Fall Foliage Parade and public service. We go back to earlier in the hour, we were talking about the Area 51 stuff. A lot of ham operators were actually deployed for that for 3 days, which is actually the best practice. They were self-sufficient for 3 days, had to figure things out on their own. And that was that was a good thing, even though it was only 150 people there. But
Still good training.
Still good training. Bruce, thank you for being here.
Yeah.
You were a very good guest. We got 15 minutes, so we can just kind of figure out what we want to do from here. We didn't have a lot of questions, but the Fall Foliage Parade is October 6th. You want to give its location up there in North Adams?
Oh, just on Main Street, North Adams.
Yeah, you can't miss it. We'll all be up there. Also, let's see. For the PCTV schedule, we are on this morning, of course, live. And then we are rebroadcast at Thursday at 8 p.m., Friday at 10:30 a.m., and Sundays at 3 a.m. Okay?
Hey, this time he remembers the schedule.
Next week, we'll have Susie Colpitz on, and she's going to hopefully talk about her days in ham radio, since she's a fairly new ham radio. But we do have...
And also can talk about how she got into it.
And how she got into it, of course. We do have some special shows coming up that I want to make light of. On October 9th, we turn Ham On into the John Lennon birthday celebration, a special celebration. How does that relate to ham radio? You'll have to tune in to find out. I have the answer for that. There's a few answers for that.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
You'll have to tune in and find out about that. On
Beatles.
On October, it'll be John Lennon's 79th birthday, October 9th. And there is actually a ham radio connection, which you will find out when you tune in. On October 30th, we're going to have Jacoba Roque here. He's a paranormal investigator with New England Supernatural Research.
Woo. Nice.
And since we like to play with a lot of the toys that they already play with, that will...
Hey, they like to play with the same toys you have.
And December 25th, after all
Learn to share your toys.
And December 25th, after the presents have all been delivered, at our Christmas show, sitting in this studio, will be none other than Santa Claus. And he's going to tell us who is good and who is bad and who is indifferent. And before he goes on his vacation.
He's going to bring in reindeer, too.
And reindeer will be out in the parking lot. I don't think we get the reindeer in the studio, but I think they'll be in the parking lot. We can put them down in the back in the offices back there. January 1st will be the year in review, as we will go through and review all the happenings, all good and bad, like Hurricane Maria, and this thing at the Facebook page.
Hurricane Dorian.
Oh, Hurricane Dorian. What did I say? Hurricane Maria. That was Puerto Rico. Hurricane Dorian.
Yeah. Speaking of them, they had one heck of an earthquake.
Oh. Yeah, they had an earthquake Monday night, just off the coast, and they've got another tropical storm coming. Let's go to what's going on in and around Pittsfield.
Yes. Let's get there. Pittsfield Jazz Festival is going to be happening October 19th from 7:30 till 9:30. Veronica Swift and Stephanie Narcasan, I'm guessing that is how you pronounce her name. I have no clue. It's going to be at the Colonial Theater.
Colonial, okay.
If anybody is interested in jazz, that's where it's going to be. North Adams. Yay, North Adams. Friday, September 27th at 7 p.m. or dusk, either way. They're going to have a viewing of The Wizard of Oz. Yay! It's going to be it's going to be in It's going to be at Clove Grove Park, located on North Church Street in Adams. This is a free event that's hosted by the Adams Community Bank. If anybody wants to go, there you go. And also join North Adams for the 64th annual Fall Foliage Parade. Yeah.
The crowd went wild.
On Sunday, October 6th. We just talked about that. It's gonna be at 1 p.m. The route runs 2 miles, starting at the Ocean State Job Lot, as Bruce had pointed out, and it'll be ending at the high rise on Ashland Street in downtown North Adams. Anybody that wants to come along.
Sunday.
The downtown Pittsfield Trick or Treat event is going to be Thursday, October 17th from Thursday, October 17th from 5 to 7. I can't freaking read. Leave me alone. I'm special. Downtown businesses will have their little orange pumpkin in the window. Look for the little orange pumpkin. Bring the kids.
Bring the kids and look for the little orange pumpkins.
Thank you. And also on top of that, downtown Pittsfield will have their fall cleanup on October 4th at 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. There will be a after party at Patrick's Pub. Each year, Pittsfield goes ahead and does their spring cleanup of downtown. Anybody that wants to go ahead and help, there's going to be plenty of rakes, brooms, garbage cans, and much, much more. The rain date will be October 11th. Don't mention rain, please don't mention rain, please don't mention rain. Last night, I swear the heavens had opened up.
Oh boy, I got caught in that.
Oh, I know.
Wouldn't have been so bad if it wasn't so windy. It just
and also in ENY.
That's why we almost lost the power.
In Albany, Schenectady, and Troy, there will be the Pumpkin Patrol. That's October 30th and October 31st. Who can you call for that? You can get a hold of me. You can get a hold of me, kd2jkv@gmail.net, and I can point you in the right direction if you want to go do that. Any other announcements out there?
Nope, that's all I have for right now. Thank you much.
WTR. Impressive. Most impressive.
Very most impressive. What else is going on? Give you a few websites here if you want to get more about amateur radio. You can go to arrl.org. American Radio Relay League, who has a ton of information. If you want to find out about our repeaters up on the hill, we have a few of them 2 meter 440, 6 meter. Go to nobarc.org, nobarc.org. If you want to catch in on that. And where I get my solar reports, my propagation reports, is solarham.net. And if you want to test online to see if you can take your test and pass your test, you can go to hamradiolicenseexam.com. hamradiolicenseexam.com. Bruce, thanks for being here. I know it's
a pleasure.
It's hard to drag people out of bed on a Wednesday morning.
No problem.
But it was nice having you here.
Oh, it was nice to be here. Thank you, Peter.
Next week we'll have Susie Kopitz here, and we'll be talking about, again, women in amateur radio and what she's got planned for amateur radio and how far she's planning on going with her license. You've been listening to Ham On WTBR FM, and maybe we can any last words of advice from anybody in the room in the studio today? Do we have any last words of advice?
I just wanted to say, if you're thinking about getting the test, get the book. Study it, and I'll tell you, it's not anything that's really highly technical and stuff like that. It's something that I feel that it's a good test of your abilities with the radio. It's a fun hobby. Like I said, you can do a lot of good public service being a ham radio operator.
And for those who are already ham operators who haven't been involved or haven't been active in a while, time to get reactive.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of things going on. October is a big month, both here in Western Mass and in Eastern New York. And there's a lot of things to get involved at. And like I said, the SET's coming up, Fall Foliage Parade's coming up. We can always use people for the Fall Foliage Parade.
Of course.
You're both ham-wise and non-ham-wise.
Yep.
I'm sure.
Absolutely.
I'm sure they'll take any volunteers they can get, as well as us being there. The SET is coming up. We'll explain the SET. We got a few minutes. So with the SET, ham operators just go to various places: fire departments, police departments, hospitals, and actually check in. And then there's points they get from that. And then we send all the points down to the ARRL, and they give us nice certificates and stuff. It's a nice little thing to be in, nice little thing to participate in. You can just drive around and go to Pittsfield PD, or you go to North Adams PD or North Adams Fire Department or county ambulance, and just check in there and go to BMC and check in. And it's nice. That's all that done. We will be back next week. This is Peter.
This is Jessica.
And you've been listening to Ham On WTBR FM.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
89.7 WTBR FM, Pittsfield.